Hello, my name is Danny Dominguez. I've worked as a peer specialist in South Florida's local system of care. I have personally faced family rejection and social stigma due to my experiences with gender and orientation. I have also faced challenges with mental health and well-being. I've moved to Miami about 6 years ago, and I work to support other youth and families dealing with these and other life challenges. You're going to hear from youth and families impacted by all of these topics, and resources that have been helpful to others and may be helpful to you. Studies conducted by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control in Miami-Dade County found the following for our region among high school youth. For 14 to 18-year-olds, it is typical for roughly 15% of youth to state they are not heterosexual or that they are questioning their orientation. Broward County schools found that approximately 2% of their students experience themselves as transgender or gender non-binary. I myself categorize my experience around gender as non-binary, and I go by they, them pronouns instead of he or she.
Hi, I'm Michael. I am 18 years old and I live in Miami, Florida. I identify as transgender male. I was born at female at birth, but I consider myself male. Just the other day, I've experienced a situation where I had to go see my psychiatrist, and the receptionist called me a boy, and my mom said, "Oh no, that's a girl." And I corrected my mom, like, "I'm a boy." And she goes, "Oh, stop that. Like, don't do that in front of her. Like, don't embarrass her." So it was kind of hurtful that someone so close to me could feel, that vibe or that negative energy towards who I am, who I want to be. It's not even want to be, just fitting in my own skin. Although my mom do or say the things she does sometimes, come home when she buys clothes and it be like boys' clothes, and she goes, "Here, I know you like boy stuff," so she just hands it to me, and it at least makes me feel comfort that she a little bit see me on who I want to be. I've been Baker acted twice in the past year because of, mental stress on who I am, and just me being in a relationship was too stressful and I couldn't handle it anymore, and I wanted to hurt myself. I wanted to die. I coped with my issues in a negative way by using substances and drugs, and I coped with it because, I was stressed. A lot of things were going on in my life, and I felt like now I shouldn't have used those things. I can just go back into my hobbies, like, just drawing or playing the piano, or just, going back into sports.
Parents may be upset because this is not what they wanted or had in mind for their child, or it can go against cultural or religious beliefs, or simply don't understand how this could have happened in our family.
Hi, my name is Vilma Valadares Diaz. I'm originally from New Jersey. I came down to Miami in the mid-90s.
Hi, my name is Laura Diaz. I'm Vilma's daughter. I currently am about to graduate Miami-Dade College with my AA music education. About when I was 18 years old, my mom proceeded to go ahead and ask me if I was gay or not, which I just told her, yes, I am, and she became very emotional after that. I personally didn't tell my father after that. She went ahead and did that for me.
The thing that most prompted me to ask Laura was because of conversations that I had with her dad. He had suspected it more than I did. And also, our oldest daughter, we kind of asked her about it, and she didn't want to say one way or another. So we made the decision, one of us had to talk to her. And it was a very emotional issue because when you have a child, or at least in my opinion, you have hopes and your dreams and you have certain expectations. And that wasn't one of our expectations. So it's kind of a shock, and it took some getting used to the idea and fitting it into what you expect. And shortly after we found out, the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando took place, and that was very scary for me because all of a sudden I was those parents in that club. And especially when you think they're attacking people for something that's not their fault. So it was a very scary, and all these things were going through our heads, you know. Do we tell the family? How are we going to treat them? Being Hispanic, it's something that's not being dealt really well, even within, we're Catholic, and even within the church, you know, that a lot of people are very negative.
When I heard about the Pulse shooting, I was just like devastated because it's just like they're just people at the end of the day. Because I remember they weren't even in Miami. They were actually in Orlando when that happened. I remember. So when I heard about it that morning, it's ironic. I think it happened like
Around your birthday.
yeah. It happened like 2 weeks after my birthday, which is like 2 years ago in 2 weeks or something like that. It's just, and they had just found out and they were so worried. It's just, they're just people at the end of the day. Why? Sometimes it's just so scary to walk outside your house. You don't know who you're gonna end up seeing, but we have to just to live our day the way we want to every single day.
Hi, my name is Efrain Sora, and I am Cuban. I was born in Cuba, and I am married and the father of 3 wonderful children. Our family likes to go for coffee. That's what we did at the time when the kids were still in the house, is that whenever we needed to talk about something that maybe have been serious or just something that were in our minds, we'd say, let's go for coffee. And that one night, Roxy said to me, Dad, I want to go for coffee. And we were sitting there in the car just as we drove up to the location. And as I was parking, she says, before we get off, I want to share something with you. And she says, I am gay. And again, at that moment, I thought, wow, you know, she's confiding something in me that she's, you know, that I need to, you know, to react in the proper manner. She is my child. I know who my child is, and I know that she by no means would be trying to be, you know, scandalous. She was not trying to do. No, she was confiding something that was really deep within her. And maybe in the last couple of years, I haven't said it enough. But I said, you know, up to a certain point, I'm happy that you came out. But I'm happy because you showed me, you really showed me that we are able, and I was able, to reconcile who Roxy was, reconcile her sexuality, reconcile, because deep inside, which is where we should all be going to, is deep inside, Roxy was the same person. Roxy was the same good-hearted, open-hearted person that she ever was. She didn't change. That didn't change her at all.
Hi, my name is David. I'm 23. I was born in Colombia in South America. And my family and I moved here when I was 6 years old. One of my processes growing up was, and coming out, was the fact that I really struggled with my mental health. And it started happening since I was 15, 16 years old. I would get these bouts of incredibly, you know, disaffected mood, being sad all the time, and not really being able sometimes to even get out of bed. And my coming out process was incredibly painful. You know, it was, in many ways, I had to give up a part of who I was. You know, this kind of conservative Christian who would one day be straight, and I had to give that up, and I had to, you know, fully embrace myself for who I was. But in that sort of sacrifice, there was a lot of pain and a lot of sadness. And I actually failed my last 2 semesters of college. Somehow, miraculously, I was able to graduate. But that was an incredibly difficult, dark period of my time, because I just didn't know if there was hope. I had been told all my life that my future looked a certain way or should look a certain way. And by me coming out and kind of reclaiming that identity, my future was going to look very, very different. And that was very scary. And I didn't know how my deep friendships were going to fully react. I didn't know the implications of me being gay and potentially being in a relationship and how that would affect my relationship with my parents, with my family, with my friends.
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I'm the privileged mom to this creative, gender nonconforming, wonderful little boy.
Okay, so my name's Kuba, and I'm 7 years old, and I love dressing up like a girl, but I want to be a boy.
And as he grew, we discovered that he took gender on a spectrum, and Cooper really likes just what Cooper likes. It's not necessarily a male or a female thing, and we've allowed him as parents to be who he is, and we think his authentic self is pretty exciting. When Cooper entered school in first grade, he wore just skirts. So children really started to notice that this was a little boy wearing a girl outfit. At that point, he got more questions, not necessarily bullying, but definitely to the point where he was tired of explaining why he was a boy who liked girl things.
The data also shows gay and bisexual youth are 2 to 3 times more likely to be involved in bullying and school violence. In South Florida, as early as middle school, roughly 34% of students admit to teasing their fellow peers with anti-gay slurs. Roughly 6% of heterosexual youth make a suicide attempt in a given year, while among gay and bisexual youth, we see a 24% attempt rate. Gay and bisexual youth are 4 times more likely to be dealing with self-harm. This does not mean your particular child will be contemplating suicide. It does mean that gay and transgender youth have a greater risk in general of doing so. There is also a higher risk of gay and bisexual youth to turn to drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with the emotional stressors of discovering they are now in a socially stigmatized group.
Throughout the time of my parents, about a year later, throughout that entire year, I was involved in substance abuse. I ended up getting caught about almost exactly a year later with the cops, and I was brought home, and then that's when my parents found out I was dealing with substance abuse. And it's just the consequences after that. You have to go to court, even if it was just such a minor offense. I have to go to court, then you have to be put on probation, depending how extensive, how much you had substance on you versus you don't.
Her getting brought home by the police was extremely scary. At that point, we did try to get services and help. There wasn't only the substance abuse going on, she also has an educational diagnosis, plus her being gay. We got very negative vibes. People were like, she won't fit in the groups, we can't handle. And that's how we got to the Yes Center. And coming here that day was a tremendous relief. Just the fact that the people who we met with that day were so willing to listen and offered what help they could, but the fact that they welcomed us and didn't judge made a world of difference.
My experience with Yes Institute, I felt like after I left, I felt like I can communicate better and speak to people better about my story, or, that everything is going to be okay because they're not alone. A lot of people that experience, these situations. And so me just going to Yes made me open up more and understand myself more better, and just communicating with people more easier, and not starting arguments, or just accepting that people have many different views, and they just grew up differently from what I've grew up on.
And after I finally came out, it was a beautiful experience, and I really realized how much I'm loved by the people that surround me, by my community, by my village. But at the same time, I realized that wasn't the solution to all of my problems. Recently, I had to get Baker acted. I had to go to the hospital, and I was at a psych ward for a weekend. Growing up gay didn't ever make that any easier. And you know, I know that if I would have had a more accepting environment, I know that I would have been able to focus and really allow myself to be loved in that area, which was really the crutch of my mental health issue. I just felt that I was no longer lovable if I was out as gay. So right now, being today, I rejoice in all of my identities and understand that, you know, obviously there are still struggles. I still struggle with mental health, but I know that I have a community that surrounds me and that loves me no matter what.
We had the Yes Institute come in and speak to all the children in first grade, and they were really excited to learn that it was okay for a boy to wear girl things and a girl to wear boy things. And we really broke down some of the stereotypes, and he had a great year. And I think that educating the staff and the students are so important so that everybody understands that this is an acceptable thing and Cooper's able to be who he is. So Cooper, if you weren't allowed to wear all the fabulous clothes that you wear or do the makeup, how would you feel?
I would feel very sad.
When I started on this journey as a parent of a child like Cooper, one of the first things that I saw that's really scared me was the suicide rate of children. And right then and there, I decided that I would support my child no matter what. Being a parent in society is hard enough. There's so much judgment on how to parent children that having a child like Cooper probably makes it a little bit more intense. When I go out to the supermarket with a little boy dressed like a girl, I definitely feel that I get judged, my child gets judged. The one thing I found that really helped me as a parent and our family was to find others that had children that were the same, and to know that you're not alone, that there are other parents that are struggling with the same kind of decisions. And when you find that community, I call it your tribe, when you find your tribe and you find other parents that can help you, that are either further along on the way or that you can help, it really makes a difference. So reach out. The Yes Institute, even myself, there's a lot of people out there that want to help you raise your family and be in the best place that you can be.
The most important thing you can do if you are a parent is to let your child know that they are loved. Studies showed children who attempt suicide or other self-harm due to gender and orientation stigma find that parental rejection vastly increases suicidal ideation. Thank you for watching. Please remember, if any of the topics covered in this video are showing up in your life or the life of a loved one, know that you are not alone. For mental health resources in Miami-Dade and Monroe County, please contact South Florida Behavioral Health Network. There is a whole community of peers and professionals in South Florida who can guide you to helpful resources and support. Contact Yes Institute for communication and education. And for a 24/7 National Suicide Prevention Hotline, call the Trevor Project.